Today we have with us Judge Ricardo C. Jackson from the Court of Common Pleas of the Philadelphia County in the 1st Judicial District of Pennsylvania. Welcome, Judge Jackson. I'm happy that you came here.
Thank you for having me.
Help with the project. To begin with, can you share with us some of your background?
Yes, born and raised in Philadelphia, North Philadelphia specifically. Went to the public schools in Philadelphia. Upon finishing college, I went to Howard University School of Law, where I received a J.D. law degree conferred in 1969. I returned to Philadelphia and began a preceptorship with the firm of Moore, Lightfoot, Nedley. Christopher Edley later became U.S. Attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney. Tanner Moore continued to practice law, and Lightfoot became U.S. Attorney, and Edley went to Ford Foundation, and that firm broke up. And after that, I went with Nix and Nix.
Right.
That firm consisted of Robert N.C. Nix Sr., who at that time was a congressman, being the first African-American black congressman from Philadelphia, with his son, Robert N.C. Nix Jr. And then approximately in 1971, 72, Robert N.C. Nix Jr. became a judge of Court of Common Pleas.
Okay.
And that's when I went on my own practice.
I understand. So you were working with two very prominent attorneys who later became judges.
Yes.
At least the one.
Yes. I remained in private practice until such time as when I went on the bench and I was elected to the municipal court in 1977.
Oh, right. I do remember that. Okay.
And I began serving in January 1978, January 1st, 1978. And at the time, I was not interested in really becoming a judge because I was enjoying the practice of law.
Yes. All right.
I enjoyed working with the Congressman Nix and being his personal attorney also.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that made me very happy and I'm very satisfied with my practice of law. As was my habit at the time, I called into my answering service, and I found out in the middle of the night that several people are calling me. Some of the senators are calling me. Two of the senators called me. The clerk of court of session called me. These are all wards called me.
Yeah. And
I'm wondering why they calling me. You know, what do I do now? Somebody says, did I put someone in jail, or just what did I do? And as it turned out, they were looking for someone to go on the Democratic ballot for election to the municipal court.
Oh, that's how it came about. Okay.
And it came about because what they were doing is they were trying to balance the ticket, as they prefer to, balance the ticket both ethnically and racially and gender-wise.
Good. It's a good idea.
And I was told that they wanted someone that was from the 32nd Ward, which I was.
Okay.
And that they wanted someone who would be able to satisfy the politicians, and also that would pass muster with the Bar Association and Judicial Evaluating Committee.
Okay, that's an important factor.
That's an important factor, and they found me, as opposed to some of the other lawyers that may have been somewhat qualified, but they found me. And the Congressman Nix, that is, he convinced me that I should take the judgeship.
Oh, good.
So I stood for election in 1977. I won.
And we're happy you did, by the way.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with it. 33 years later, but now in 1979, I decided to run for the Common Pleas Court, from the municipal court to the Common Pleas Court.
Okay.
And I was endorsed by the party. At that time, second time I was endorsed by the party, and the Bar Association, of course, and then they endorsed me also. But I lost that election.
Oh.
So I came right back in 81.
Okay.
And I formed my own committee. I formed my own committee, my own little party.
Yes.
And I won that election in 81.
Independently.
Independent.
Very good.
Independent, and only spent, I borrowed $5,000 from Fidelity Bank.
Yes.
And I put that into the campaign, and that's what I used to street money and so forth. And I won that election in 81.
Excellent.
I was retained in 91. And in 2000, I resigned my commission Secretary of Labor, Labor Department, Alexis Herman,
Yes.
under President Clinton. He asked me if I'd be interested in joining the Clinton administration. And I said yes. I had 23 years on the bench at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I resigned my commission and took a fellow appointment.
I saw that in the news articles
Yes.
in your background, yes.
Yes.
And what kind of a position was that?
I was the Secretary's representative, Department of Labor.
Right, okay.
I represented the Secretary of Labor in the states of Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey.
It's quite a big sector.
Big sector.
And busy, too.
And busy.
Yes.
Very busy. And then subsequently, when the Democrats went out of office,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
which
yeah.
was the Bush-Gore election,
Yes.
when the Democrats went out of office, all the political appointees were relieved of their appointments by the Republicans.
Right, okay.
So at that time, I came back to Philadelphia, and I applied to the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, and I was fortunate enough to be given senior judge status.
Oh, great.
And I've been doing that since that time, which is 2001.
Okay, all right. So we're able to have the benefit of your service again here in Philadelphia
Thank you.
on the bench,
Thank you.
and we're happy that you are. And you've already described how you decided to become a judge. Now, you practiced for a number of years before becoming a judge, and then you were a judge for 23 years.
Yes.
And then you were with the Labor Department, or the Secretary of Labor, and then you returned to the bench. So during that time, there must have been a lot of changes in the law and how law is practiced, particularly in the courtroom, maybe.
Well, one of the big changes I noticed then that I'm somewhat I enter it with very great trepidation because now it's so much of the electronic.
Yes.
We have the e-filing and e-research, and during my days, and when I practiced law, I went to law school, we went to the stacks
Yeah.
to get the books down from
Right.
the stacks and
Yeah.
to find the law and apply the law, whatever. But now it's just all done on computer.
Yeah.
So we rely heavily on our law clerks that have the young people that have the computer skills
And expertise.
and
in this,
expertise.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big changes.
Yeah, sure.
One of the big changes also is when you're a commission judge, you get to pick your own staff.
Oh,
You have
okay.
your law clerk, you have your tip staff, you have your courtroom. For instance, I spent 15 years in room 696 City Hall.
Uh-huh.
And then when the Criminal Justice Center was built, they sent us all over there. But I still have my own entire staff.
Okay.
But as a senior judge, you're given someone from a pool to
Right,
do most
okay.
of the work.
Yeah,
Mm.
and fairly common chambers.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing personal about our chambers. They're common. You're right.
Yeah, so to speak.
Compared to, and I very jokingly say, I used to be very important around here because I had chambers that were just the best.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here at my desk like this in my chamber, and I turn around like this, go to the door, and I'm on the bench.
and 696 is a nice room up there.
696 in a nice room, and I was fortunate enough to have my portrait in 696 today
Yeah,
with all the my predecessors that sat in that room.
okay, okay. And it's a fairly good portrait too, I think, yeah.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you how I got the portrait or how I
Sure.
selected the artist?
Sure.
I tried, I was on the capital case list or the homicide list in the criminal courts.
I remember that, yeah.
And I did some capital cases of note. One particular case, there was an artist, she was a sketch artist, and she would sketch today's proceedings.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that, should I mention her name?
No, oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's the best. Her name is Susan Sherry.
Okay.
She was a sketch artist for the Enquirer and for one of the television networks. And at the conclusion of the trial, she asked me if I wanted to purchase the sketch. Then one day they flashed on TV. They flashed on TV and go down the newspapers and so forth. I said, no, I don't really want to.
No cameras in the courtroom.
No cameras in the courtroom.
Right.
No, I don't really want to purchase it, but if I live long enough to have my portrait done,
Yes.
then I'll commission you to do it, and I commission her to do my portrait.
How about that?
And I think it's one of the best around City Hall.
Yeah, it's a good one. So, and you have to give the artists their due. Speaking of cases, are there any particular cases, or one or two, that stand out in your mind for whatever reason that might be of interest to the public or
Well,
to anyone?
in the civil case or criminal case, and on the criminal side, I did quite a few capital cases, and that's when the government's seeking the death penalty.
Yeah, can't be any
And,
more important than that.
Well, I developed somewhat of an expertise,
Mm-hmm.
and I was asked to write a chapter in the bench book handling capital cases,
Oh, good.
which I did, and that's through the National Judicial College out of
Oh,
Reno,
okay.
Nevada.
Yeah.
I went out there and
Uh-huh.
I spent some time out there, and I wrote the bench book,
Uh-huh.
or a chapter in the bench book
Yes.
for handling capital cases. So I had a wide expertise in that case, but
Yeah.
all those cases are very depressing, of course.
Yeah, I
But,
agree.
So they all stand out in my mind. It would take me forever to start talking about all of them.
Well, it's got to weigh heavily on an
Yeah.
individual. I
Yeah.
mean, you are a man,
Yeah.
after all, and, you know.
Well, it weighs heavily. One of the most difficult parts I find of being a judge is sentencing.
Yeah.
And there's a great deal of thought and thought process in sentencing during the mental health evaluations
Right.
and all the background of the people and the defendants.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel a sense of empathy for all those people that you must put them in incarceration for many, many years in a period of time.
Yeah.
Well, I was on the civil side. I like the idea that most of my cases, 98% of my cases are affirmed on appeal.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm proud of that, right?
Yeah, I would be. Yeah.
And some of the and on civil sides, the one case stands out in mind. One of the hormone replacement therapy cases, HRT case they're called.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm now assigned to the Complex Litigation Center,
Oh, okay.
and we get the really complex
Yeah,
cases. And,
right. With many thousands of filings, or hundreds sometimes.
that's correct. Yeah. So, and I'm still, for the most part, getting proper results. I think proper as I apply the law
Yes.
from the Superior Court and Supreme Court.
Okay, and I'm sure you do.
Mhm.
The idea about sentencing in criminal cases is interesting to me because somehow you have to fashion an appropriate sentence that deals with all the individuals involved, even the defendant and the other people, justice, some mode of justice, and what you hope will somehow be an appropriate answer to all that
Yeah.
ugliness.
Yeah, you're almost trying to be like Solomon the baby.
Yes,
that sort of
right.
thing. It's a case I just thought of by your suggestions.
Yes.
Here was a defendant who would take deposits on tombstones, gravestones, headstones,
Yes.
and who never put them in place.
Uh,
He would never put them in place, and the case came to trial. They charged him with theft and many, many other charges. It came to trial, and I'm sitting there in the middle. And on one side, the victims and their family, and the other side, the victims and their family, plus the defendant's family.
mm,
And all the victims say, "My mom, I go to see the cemetery, to see my mother, and she's
Right,
not there. So
yeah.
I can't pray,
oh,
and he ought to go to jail forever. Go
Yeah.
to jail forever."
sure.
Another side, I said, "Well, what happens to my money? If he goes to jail, what happens to my money?"
Yeah.
So what happens to the money I gave him? I said, "If he goes to jail, you don't get money." And so you got to balance.
Yeah.
And what would you do with that kind of guy?
Right, right.
Do you let him stay out and let him work and pay the money back? People put the tombs on the plate, or do you put him in jail for 10 years?
Exactly.
So it's still the kind of decisions that weigh heavily on you all the time.
Yeah, sure. Sometimes I can't see. Well, I'm just glad that I never was put in that sort of a position. But do you find, of course, in complex litigation it's different, but maybe during your, terms as a criminal judge or in a simpler case-by-case basis, has there been a change in the way court was conducted from when you began your practice and from when you were a judge, and did you see changes in the courtroom?
Yes, very definitely. When I practiced in the criminal courts, you had a case listed in courtroom A, for instance,
Yes.
or courtroom 2696, wherever it may be,
Yeah.
and you had a case listed someplace else, you would have to appear in court that day
Yeah.
and file a busy slip.
Oh, right.
Explaining to the judge that you're in another courtroom and application for a continuance. When I came back, I found that after I got on the bench, I found that that practice has sort of been eliminated for some reason, and I can't find a rule as to why change it.
Right.
So that's one of the changes I see. That and electronic filing.
Yeah. I know some of the other judges I interviewed mentioned that there was a change in the level of courtesy, that it seems to have gone downhill.
I see that. I see that every day. I see that every day, even on the civil side.
Yes.
Even on the civil side, I see that there's a lack of civility.
Yeah.
The lawyers are scratching each other's,
Yeah.
and they scratch each other's eyes out and clawing each other, and I'm sitting there in the middle, and I got to remind them. I must remind them time and time, listen, you're a Philadelphia lawyer, you're a good lawyer, both of you are good lawyers, and there has to be a level of civility,
Right.
or we'll never get through. And what I do, and they'll get the message, what I do, the lawyers are bickering back and forth, and I'm trying to hear the case, I get them to leave. I say, I'll go fishing. And they say, oh, wait. That's right. And that brings them around to being civil to each other.
Well, whatever you got to do to get their attention, I guess, we're in the middle of it. Do you have any advice, aside from that idea, do you have any advice for new judges that may be coming onto the bench?
Just like I would advise the lawyers, prepare your cases.
Yeah.
Do not walk into the courtroom unless you're thoroughly familiar with all the facts of the case from both sides. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, the law is very fact-specific. Mm. If you're familiar with the facts of the case from both sides as a jurist, then you're able to resolve the case more easily. Okay. And more likely get affirmed by the appellate courts.
Because you rendered an appropriate decision.
You apply the law to the facts as you deem them.
To that particular case.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today about your practice, history?
I guess I've summed it up.
Okay. Yeah. You've done very well.
Thanks.
I mean, on the bench and here with us today.
Well, I tried to.
Thanks very much, Judge Jackson.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Judge RICARDO C. Jackson.